Now, the next panel is going to be on education revolution, equipping young people for sustainable and tech-driven agribusiness. And I guess this may lean towards my my discussion or concept about building solutions, providing solutions with the culture in mind. Now, this panel will explore how to transform agricultural education for future agribusiness, focusing on technology and sustainability. It will discuss modern curricula, digital tools, and experiential learning to equip young agripreneurs with necessary skills. The session emphasizes aligning education with real-world demands to ensure the next generation is tech-savvy and capable of creating resilient, environmentally responsible agricultural enterprises. Moderating this session is the director of Amona Consulting Limited, Lola Soyonwo. She's a seasoned business strategist with over 20 years experience supporting startups and SMEs across sectors in Nigeria and the UK. A director at Amona Consulting and Health Boxes Limited, she's led multi-million-dollar bids, raised $10 million for agribusiness, and advised 120-plus U-Win ventures. She leverages Six Sigma and BPR to drive operational excellence, public sector wins, and strategic growth. Lola, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Buki. I'd like to say good afternoon to everybody in the room. Your Excellency, sir, thank you for chairmaning this awesome event. We've been working with Amono, with the Agriconnect Summit Group, with the workshop. And that's part of the reason why I'm moderating this, to be able to bring in some of the information that the attendees of the workshop brought to bear in the last 2 days. Joining me on this panel, I would like to invite Ogbeni Oludayo Obasanjo. He's the Executive Director of Obasanjo Farms Nigeria. I would also like to invite Mr. Luther Lawonyi. He's the founder and CEO of Price Pally. Mr. Dolamu Shonwumi, the co-founder of Red Tech Africa. And last but not least, Mr. Shola Ladoja, the co-founder and CEO of Simply Green. So we'll just try quickly to run through a few questions to be able to leverage on this discussion. And we will start really around the fact that agriculture in Nigeria is a thing of, almost like a thing of the past, like some of the other panelists have been saying. The perception that we have for agriculture in Nigeria presently. So what's the future shaping out like? From an education standpoint, a lot of our schools have not yet caught up with what is out there. When they're teaching, we're not seeing a lot of AI, we're not seeing a lot of tech in our agribusiness education curriculum. So for me, I would like to imagine a place where we actually have farmers or farming schools, all our schools like UI, all the other agribusiness schools that we have in Nigeria. I would like to see a situation where they're teaching them branding, because I'm coming from a management consultancy standpoint, where they're already having branding, they're already teaching them how to leverage technology. So, but we're not seeing a lot of that. So on that front, I would like to invite Ogbeni Obasanjo to just talk, because you have the experience from educating a lot of the young farmers in Obasanjo farms. What do you think, from your, especially from the running large-scale operations, what would you want to change most to make that training that you're seeing in other companies or other training schools? What would you want to change most to make it relevant for today?
Thank you very much. We talk about what we would like to see more. There's a lot of things, but I'll start with the curriculum. Unfortunately, the curriculum is in the agricultural in the country, or maybe this part of Africa, is outdated. And I'll say that in two folds. Um, First of all, Agric is seen, if you even look at the curriculum, it's seen as rural, rudimentary, and not as a business. Not as a business. So we talking about agri-business here, agribusiness here, agribusiness there, until we merge that in our curriculums, where the agric and the business comes together. I don't know, I might be wrong, when you study anything agric, where you actually talk about the business angle of it or the business aspect of that. You have to finish and go to graduate school, all that things to learn about that. The other part about the curriculum I'll talk about was out there is, even when we talk about modern farming, I'll use an example of our field where we are in everywhere, but poultry, for example, you still talk about people in Nigerian syllabus still talks about poultry being done in 8 weeks or 10 weeks and such, but in modern commercial farming, people are trying to close the gap at 4 to 5 weeks. So that is so in those cases updated. Another aspect would be we would like to say a case where we could make agriculture look cool, or for lack of a better word, for the Gen Zs out there, dope. Dope. What do I mean? Programs like this. I assume everybody, most people here have in one way and the agric field or dealing with the agric field or supporting the agric field. So if you have more events, I say it since the idea of this program was that was the entire idea, make minus the bridging of agric with certain sectors like tech and finance was also to make agric cool and then exciting and show what it could be. It could also be glamorous. Not only tech and filmmaking could be exciting and glamorous. So that's one of the main ideas of a program like this. So more programs like this. You see, the gentleman there is in the agric space. I am, and we don't look like what you call farmers. We don't look like farmers. So those are two things I would like to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So just to summarize, we need to change the curriculum up. We need to make it look more attractive to make it more dope for the startup, climb up, and stay up farmers that we're going to be having. That there are quite a lot of them in the room. And on that note, I would like to ask Mr. Shola Ladoja, based on your experience with Simply Green, what would you say that the agric schools are not covering as much, especially in the areas of fresh produce and logistics? What practical business skills would you think that they should incorporate to be able to add value to the new agripreneurs that are coming up?
All right, thank you very much for that question. What I think is very important to add to training schools and centers is actually modern agricultural practices. For example, I'll give you an example. Growing things like vegetables, lettuce, carrots, kale, we can do it year-round if we look at things like drip irrigation. And I feel like most farming centers I've been to don't even have these things that they could use to teach young people how to farm properly. Also, what I also think is very important is looking at the entire value chain, because people talk about agriculture and you just think about farming and processing, but we're not talking about branding, which you asked them about. Branding has actually changed my business. If not because of branding, I don't think Simply Green will be where it is today, because we've been able to have that youthful look on our packaging.
Yes.
And where the money lies in agriculture is not really just the primary production. The value added part of it is where the money is. So I feel like a lot of training centers or schools in agriculture should be able to teach people along the value chain. We have, even what I'm wearing is part of agriculture, because the dye that they use, some of them are actually African dye. So there's a lot of things that could be improved in terms of training centers and schools. We're looking at cold chain, we're looking at things like Agritech. I was speaking to him just now, and I was very passionate about bringing smart timers. Why can't we make smart timers in Nigeria? Why can't these training centers make things like smart timers? Why can't we make our own drip tips in Nigeria? Why can't we turn waste, plastic waste, our bottles, why can't we turn them into drip irrigation? So I feel like these training centers also have to become a way of also teaching people how to also research what is out there. And I feel like that's where we're lacking. If they focus on the entire value chain, from production to processing to logistics to cold chain, I feel like that would actually attract more youths in agriculture.
Thank you very much. So just to summarize, I do agree with you, especially from the conversations I was having with the young people in the last 2 days, that a lot of them don't actually know what is out there that is available to them. And even if it is, they're not researching it enough because they are already afraid of the cost implications that could come with it. So for you, it's education within the school systems for them to be able to understand what they need to be doing, also what is out there, so that they're also exposed to what can help with their branding and what can help with their production. Thank you very much. Will now want to talk a little bit tech, and we'll move to the tech people in the room, the people that have been leveraging tech. Now, I think I was having a conversation with Ogbeni earlier on, and the part of the conversation was, what's the difference between tech and the technology that is being used in the farms? Because we have the IT tech space and the drone technologies and all that, but we then now also have the technology like the drip systems and how irrigation happens and things like that. So on that front, when you're talking about the tech now, we're talking more on tech from the IT perspective. And I would like to ask the question of Mr. Lawoyi, who is currently with Price Pally. You connecting food and tech quite seamlessly, aren't you? So my question to you is, how do you think we can get more youths interested in tech? Because in tech, from an agric point of view, because they're all excited about tech, but they're not seeing the advantage of how to incorporate it into the agric space. So what do you think we can do to bridge that gap between the tech and the agriculture?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. You kind of like answered it in a bit. I think it's mainly showing them what tech will do in agriculture. And we need to think of agriculture not like the way it's taught in schools and all of that. Some way it's more like subsistence farming. You're learning about plants, you're learning about crops and all that. It's way more than that. We have to look at it from a systems thinking point of view, where you see how everything connects together. The whole of agriculture doesn't just start on the farm or end on the farm. There are people who make seeds, there are people who do the drip irrigation like you said and all of that. And all of that comes together to form to get us what ends up on our table.
Yes. And
I work in the e-commerce space. The technology we use is mostly software. There's also, hardware technology to these things. Someone was mentioning the farmer who uses drones to spray farms and, do work that will take a long time. They do it in minutes. If we enable young people see the application of technology and show those examples, because a lot of these things is because there's not much of programs like this that really spotlight agriculture or what people are doing in this space. That's why you probably don't have enough young people in this space. But personally, I would say that, from my perspective and the work we are doing at Price Pally, I think that's changing. We see a lot of young people who are, creating platforms or doing something that wants to bring food to the table because, there's a lot of money here. And I think, yes, we also need to connect what's possible in terms of agriculture to money. Young people want to make money, and there's a lot of money in tech, and it's not just about growing food. There's a lot to it. There's, the processing angle, there's technology that helps processing, there's software that helps processing. It's very vast. There's every section of the agri space has an application for technology that would make it a lot smarter, a lot better than it is currently. And if young people can see that and connect that to the money they want to make, you would definitely see that would definitely change. You see a lot of young people interested in this space. So I think a lot of what needs to happen is more spotlighting and more education of what's possible, and also, exploring, making young people see what the advantage is if they apply what they have in their minds to agriculture. I think that will change a lot of things.
Thank you very much. I think one of the first panel, there was a gentleman there that was talking about the storytelling. So that's where the spotlighting will come in. So the storytelling from a tech point of view, letting people understand now, because everybody's going Gemini, going ChatGPT, helping them understand how they can use that to leverage the information and the knowledge that they need in their farms. Thank you very much for that. And from a fintech's point of view, we're going to be asking Mr. Showumi, who has been in the business of building pipelines for digital talent in the agriculture sector with the Red Tech platform. So I just want you to try to put on a farmer's hat right now, with the technology hat as well. So you'll be wearing two hats. And what would you want to see more in the Nigeria of today, in the farming and agricultural space from a tech point of view, that can be introduced into the educational curriculum?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Standing on the existing protocol. I think when we look at this, there's a massive disconnect when it comes to curriculum and the real world needs. And what we've done at Red Tech is actually, and we're working with the Agriconnect Summit actually, what we did was partner with them to actually launch a hackathon. Basically, what that means is to shift the young people's minds from just education, from learning, into sort of engineering solutions, okay, right? Especially in agriculture. And so one of the things that they tackled was post-harvest losses. We worked with agronomists to get real life data to actually solve those problems. And they've actually come up with some real world solutions that we can actually take to either, people were basically keen to use those products. One of the other things is that we've actually looked at, one of the things that they've also done is actually they basically built like an IoT cold storage alert systems. And those are things that can be further developed. And these are the things that we did during this hackathon, which was for about 9 days. One of the other things I think we can look at is partnering with agronomists, getting the real data, and then using that to layer it on platforms like ours, like the Dicey Tech platform, to actually use that to crucially then look at ways where we can have simulations. I think having the infrastructure is not just enough. It's also about how do we mentor, how do we educate, how do we connect these guys, farmers to technologies and also to the employers. So looking at simulations, how do we attract micro investors? How do we also connect them to internships? How do you connect them to going to like the peri-urban and the rural areas to connect those youths to these opportunities that are there? So one of the things that our platform is doing is to ensure that people are actually able to sort of engineer solutions to real agricultural problems. And I think with that, a lot of young people are digitally savvy, and that actually interests them and draws them into agriculture as opposed to just, come and learn about agriculture. But really putting that tech into play, I think is one of the things we can do.
Thank you. So to summarize, you want to see more Internet of Things being used more, and people have already started thinking about that, and from the hackathon. You also mentioned about mentorships from a technology standpoint, so that people can actually see how they can use it as smallholder farmers to be able to scale. And also data. I was very interested in the data side. So using data more to be able to form solutions in the country, to be able to either improve products, improve service delivery. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Thank you very much for that. And because of time, we'll just take one more question each. Or instead of taking a question, can I just throw it out to each one? I know it's not in the list now. But if, for example, you were given a superpower to be able to solve the education problem and attract more young people into the agri space, what would that superpower be, and what would you want it to achieve? I will start with, because you're smiling, I will start with Mr. Ladoja.
Okay, if I'm meant to have a superpower to change anything in agriculture, I would start with mechanization, because mechanization is a very key part of actually changing the way people look at agriculture. The other thing I would strongly like to see is where there's more partnership between the farmers and the technology companies. I've been saying this. It makes no sense for me to buy timers from China for $20 when we have people in Nigeria that could build good timers and other things. So I think what I would like to see is mechanization and more collaboration between tech people and farmers itself.
Yes,
and one more thing, more programs like what we're doing in Oyo State. It's called YIP. My mentor is there, Dr. Debo Akonde, and we've trained more than 2,000 youths in agriculture. So I would like to see more of those kind of things come into play, where we just don't just say, it's not just a training, but they also create an enterprise after the training, and there's also after training support to make sure that these enterprises that they create is actually profitable and sustainable.
So your superpower is threefold then?
Three things.
Threefold. Okay, so mechanization, more collaboration between the farmers and the tech, but then the tech people, the farmers also need to understand the tech so that they can collaborate better.
Yep.
And lastly, but not the least, more events like LEAP to be able, that would hold small scale. I'm conscious that one of my attendees, Banana Republic, was telling us to stop calling them smallholder farmers.
I would term it as youth in agribusiness now.
Youth in agribusiness. So youth in agribusiness, to be able to encourage them to have more knowledge.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'll go on to...
Yeah, I think amongst many other things, I think one of the things I'll look at is experiential learning. I think that really helps. Just kind of like making sure that people are having challenge-based learning. So being able to tackle real problems, and also basically just removing every misery around tech and capital. I think that's one of the things I look at.
Yes, because I think a lot of people, farmers are running away from the tech side of things, or they're just building platforms and not really doing the backward side of talking to the farmers. But farmers and tech should understand where they lie. Let the farmers do the farming and let the tech people do the tech. And then there will be more collaborations.
Yeah, and just build the confidence and capability of these people, yeah.
And then experience in the farms so that people have hands-on information, hands-on data, so that they can use it to be able to improve.
Yes, that's all.
Okay, so experiential learning. So we said one superpower, but we're combining superpowers now. Okay, so experiential learning and?
That builds both confidence and capability.
Thank you very much for that. Luther?
Yeah, so mine will be that I would love a situation where we are able to leverage the technology that we had in the past. Like our forefathers, our grandparents farmed, and they did it successfully.
Yes.
Yeah, they had their ways of doing things that most of the time died out because of some foreign technology that was imported, and most of the time we apply those technology and it seems like it doesn't work here. Like the knowledge we've lost in this, the knowledge we've lost up until now would be what I would want to bring back, such that we will be able to the divide that we have even today from the older generation to the present generation is wide. Then the divide that we have of our own technology, that we've imported things from, the US and, people that have done things ahead of us, instead of we using our technology and improving those technology and building them to, commercial scale that can help us locally, because our situation is peculiar. So sometimes most of these fertilizers and things that we're using are not exactly for us, and it's causing us a lot more harm than good. So I would rather that we're able to you know, preserve the technology of old and move it into the future, basically. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So, and how do you think that could happen? Because that's very
You said
interesting.
it's a
It was
superpower.
debated on. Okay, this is your superpower.
Yeah, it's a
But
superpower.
right now,
I don't know
if
how
we
to
use
answer.
education, because we're talking about the youth now, how do you think we can? You already have that superpower, remember?
Okay.
So how do we get the youth to be more attracted to be able to keep using the technologies of old and bring it to the future?
First, we'll need to go find our technologies of old, like document them, you know, research them. They're still there. They're still, you know, there are cooling systems that Farmer Sampson uses on his farm, for instance. That's just made of charcoal, and it works pretty much. It's less inexpensive. It's just smarter. But we burn technology, we burn electricity, burn a lot of money to preserve things. While we could have improved on that. So
agripreneurs in the room, that's a business opportunity there. You can go to the back, to the past, gather data on the past, and build a solution for the future.
yeah.
And last but not least, Ogbeni, what will your superpower be?
So, I see the problem a little bit differently. I don't know what the superpower will be, but I will explain. A lot of graduates coming out over the last 2, 3, 4 years AI savvy. So you ask them to give you a report or something, and AI will give you something beautiful, and you think this guy is a genius, so it's incredible. And if he has to explain that, he can't. AI is making CVs and things like that. So there's no doubt the current generation is much smarter, faster. So AI is, so that's not 100% the problem. We're talking about tech in agri. That's a different question, but tech, yeah. Now, what I see as a problem, in some ways, I see it as an obstacle. In some ways. I totally agree in tech in agri. We're doing a lot of tech, we're doing a lot of monetization, we're putting a lot of artificial intelligence. I totally agree with that. But when we talk of for graduates or talent, I would rather see more talents coming out with basic skills, which are needed. Agric, well, tech, and all of that is going to help. It's a bit like building. You are not going to, if you are going to build a duplex, you need 9 months. You do a foundation, you leave it, you do a lintel, you do roofing. There are stages to it. Same thing with planting. You are not going to use tech to fast track the 3 months or 4 months planting of rice or 6 months planting of maize or whatever. Tech is not going to fix that. But the basic skills and tools, modern skills for agric, and then also even just basic leadership soft skills, management soft skills, and teamwork. That's really lacking in a lot of people coming out, or a lot of graduates coming out. So for me, I'd rather say we need to fix that, while also having tech. Tech should be a supporting tool to these other factors, but because these are the basics. Then when they have the basic technical, like we said, then while you're having the technical skills, you have the tech, and then you take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So just to summarize for Ogbeni, it's essentially getting, his superpower would be to make all the young agripreneurs ensure that they actually understand what farming is about, and they've gone to the basics and have experiences farming first, have that strong foundation, and then start to build on it. And as Baba said, I guess start up, climb up with your agri experience, and then you start to scale up. Mr. Lajoja, you had something else to add?
Yes, I just wanted to advise anybody here that is trying to go into farming. I must give credit to Samson, because what Samson is doing in the game is mind-blowing. He trains, I don't know, hundreds of youths every year, and what I see from Samson, I actually steal a lot of things from Samson that he doesn't know. I watch what he's doing and I learn from him. So I would strongly advise you, if you really want to learn about farming and the proper way to do it, uses drip irrigation, mulching, and different stuff. So I would really advise you to join his program. I think it's called Learn and Work. Yeah, so I would really advise you to to follow Samson. He's my boss in the game, so I've learned a lot from him, and I think you all can learn a lot from him as well.
Thank you very much, my esteemed panelists. I think we've been able to help everybody understand what needs to change in the education sector to be able to ensure that we have strong agri-business companies within the country that would also help with our economy. Thank you very much, and thank you to the audience for listening.